All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is episode 32 of the Last One Fast One podcast. We have a great guest tonight. He's been on the show before, Hunter Armstrong. He's our only returning guest that we've had, so we're pretty stoked about that. And he recently came off a world championship in Fukuoka, so we're pretty stoked to have a world champion on the pod and a bronze medalist in the 100 back. So, Hunter, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we were looking, you posted a couple pics on Instagram from Scotland. So we were gonna just kind of ask you, how was that good break after Worlds?
Oh, that was wonderful. So my family went, we'd planned the vacation well before Worlds. But so they were in North Carolina while I was in Fukuoka.
Okay.
So this was sort of my vacation. We'd been trying to go to Scotland for years, but then with COVID and Olympics, it just couldn't happen. But no, that trip was amazing. Scotland's beautiful. And I got to, I guess it's technically not sister-in-law yet, but my brother proposed to his
Oh,
girlfriend down there
nice.
at our castle. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, sweet. Were you staying at like a castle for the week you were there? Or?
We stayed in Edinburgh,
Uh-huh.
but the Armstrongs were pretty, I don't want to say royalty, but as far as that time period,
Yeah.
they were pretty important. We were right on the border, so we did have castles and
Wow.
towers. So he proposed at top of Gilnockie Tower, which is one of our only remaining.
Wow.
That's,
That's
that's pretty
pretty
sick,
epic.
actually.
That's insane.
It was cool.
You definitely that's a tough one to beat. Top of the castle in Scotland. That's at the top of the list for sure.
Yeah, he got me there, but all right.
Do you so you took that, week off from swimming or however long you're up in Scotland. Do you take magic off too while you're up there, or is that just constant 365-day grind?
I haven't really practiced it for years. I mean, I just sort of like, if I see something cool, I'll
Yeah.
try to learn it, but I pretty much have my routine that I stick to, just like walk around magic. Um,
Nice.
doesn't really take much practice because I just do the same stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess that kind of
Awesome.
leads us in. You got any new magic tricks?
Um, Boy, I don't know when last you had me on,
It
but
was about
I don't,
6 months ago, so it was in March,
February.
February.
then I definitely have new ones, but
There we go.
not that would really go well on camera.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
And
fair. That's fair.
if I ever come to another pro series, we'll I'll have to do one in person with you for
Yeah,
sure.
I got some really good ones in person.
There we go.
Uh,
Well, let's talk a little bit about Fukuoka. First off, congrats on the world title and the bronze medal. That was me and Luke were rooting you on the whole week, so it's always stoked when we see a guest get top of the podium.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that 100 back before we talk about your world title. I'd love to hear about the progression going from prelims 16th, semis to 8th, and then to finals getting on the podium. I mean, people were blowing up Twitter and Instagram calling you the true magic man for pulling that off. So talk a little bit about just take us through step by step prelims, semis, finals. What did you think of each race? And yeah.
Well, I'd love to say that it was intentional to barely squeak in,
All
but
right.
not completely. Um, so I was just going off of because this was only my third meet, really. I had Tokyo, which was sort of a fluke. Um, but then last year's Worlds, everything went my way. I mean, world record in the trials. I got to beat Murph in the 100 back,
Yeah.
just top of the world. Um, this one, nothing went my way. I found out we went to Colorado Training Center to taper,
Yeah.
and I find out that my coach is going to Michigan
Yeah.
from Swim Swam. Didn't even hear it from him.
Oh no.
Which I that sounds a lot worse than it is. He didn't want me to focus or stress about it,
Right.
but it doesn't change that definitely messed with me.
Wow. Yeah.
And then just we had talked about peaking at Worlds, and then my trials, the 100 free, just every race was awful for me, and I was really happy to just make it on the team at that point.
Right.
And then I felt amazing during our training camp in Singapore.
Yeah.
And then that feel just sort of went away at Worlds. So I definitely think I peaked some point during that camp.
Right.
But I also had last year the relay, so I could get a swim under my belt.
Right.
And I didn't have that this year. So I made the mistake of assuming that it would be pretty much the same, because prelims last year of the 100 back, I cruised 52.8.
You're right. Right.
So I'm like, okay, I can do that again.
Yeah.
But first race of the meet, decided not to shave and cruised through. And I learned an important lesson. You can either shave and not try and shave, but you can't do both, and especially not on your first race of the meet. I touched the wall and my heart dropped. I'm like, Nesty's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
But then semis, I just overcorrected. I'm like, well, that can't happen again. Barely got through again.
Right.
And then finals, I just let my body do what it was supposed to do. And of course, I was a little upset with the time, but you can't be upset at a medal. So I'll take that.
No doubt. So like kind of. This episode is brought to you by Destro Machines. Unlock your true swimming potential with the ultimate training companion, the Destro Swim Tower. Designed by a former Olympic trials contender, this tower brings elite power resistance training to all swimmers, regardless of budget. Their swim meter timer adds precision to your reps, making practice both competitive and thrilling. Safety is paramount. Experience unmatched stability and sleek design. The marine-grade pulleys ensure smooth resistance, no more rope hassle. Crafted with pride in the USA, the Destro Tower is your path to greatness. Elevate your training today and make waves like never before. So that 16th, when you just snuck into prelim, so you took that whole race just cruising. You touched the wall, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, because I could see the people next to me.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I'll let one of them have the touch. Like, I don't really care. I'll go in third, second.
Right.
But I didn't think lanes 1 and 2 were gonna get me.
Oh, so it was the outside smoke on the.
It was outside smoke because I can see the people next to me, and I'm like, oh, worst case, I get like third, and I'll be good. Touch the wall, I see fifth, and I'm like, I'm in so much trouble.
Right. So then, like, what would you attribute like 53.2 to 52.5? Because that's a pretty 7/10 is a pretty big drop, like from semis to the finals.
Well, I overcorrected in the semis. I looked at the data, and my tempo was faster than like my 50 back on that second 50.
Yeah.
So after the prelims, I'm like, okay, well now I have to take like top 3 going into finals, so I can't mess around. And I just overcorrected. I slipped, and I just didn't have easy speed that entire meet. So I sort of just gave it to God because I had no control anymore.
Yeah. Is that kind of like, do you kind of tell yourself in between each race, you have like a certain mindset, like, all right, we're putting this one in the rear of your mirror? Or do you like just say, did you have a kind of a motto or something you do?
I just take it one race at a time. And the nice thing is it is out of your control. I mean, once the buzzer goes off, your body's going to do what you trained it to do. There's nothing more or less you can do. You sort of just have to go. And, you either have a great race and everything comes together, or you just fight. And this meet was a fight.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a meet like this before? Or is this like kind of the first time for you?
I've had meets where things don't come together, but that's typically like an in season, like when I was a college swimmer, just like you're so beaten down.
Right, right.
And I mean, this was my first year fully pro. So I do think that there may have been an aspect of being under rested. No, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, I missed my taper. Like I shaved. I did well. Um, but I had 10 months of hard training, and I was one of the last people to step down for Worlds.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd rather learn it here than at Paris.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it still turned out pretty dang awesome for a world title and a bronze medal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, prepping for Paris, is there any like big things you want to like learn and change going into this next meet? Like if you had to sum it down?
I want to add a couple events.
Oh,
So my goal for Paris is 100 back, 50 back won't be a thing, but I'd love to be on the 4 free relay, the mixed medleys,
Yep.
of course, the normal medley. No one has seen me do a 200 freestyle.
Okay.
I was pretty good at it in yards.
Yeah.
I haven't swam it in meters in forever. I have no desire to be an individual 200 free, nor am I good enough. But I think it'd be fun to hop on a prelim relay for it.
yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like adding
ahead,
those
Luke.
events, how would you have to change up your training at all for that? I mean, because that's like a lot of yardage at a meet that you're gonna have to tack on.
It is, but it's sort of, I mean, I train pretty much exclusively freestyle. So there will be small changes. I don't know what that's going to look like, but from August to pretty much Christmas training, I was in the mid distance group with Durden at Cal this past year. So I might just stay with him a little bit longer this year.
Gotcha. There you go. So I heard you say, I was going to ask this question later on, but you said like you're going to stay with him longer this year. So does that mean like you don't have plans to go to Michigan?
No, I'm staying here in Cali.
Gotcha.
You just
Yeah.
can't beat the coaching staff. And,
Right.
I miss Matt. I love working with him, but it took me so long to get in the swing of things when I moved, and moving was an absolute pain. And that's not something I was willing to do right before the games.
Gotcha. Absolutely. And you got a great training group out there. You're training
Oh
with
my
Murph
gosh.
every day, and just seems like Brooks Curry's coming out there too, isn't he? Is he out there?
Yeah, I haven't started practice yet.
Okay.
But I did see that he's out here.
Yeah, that's sweet. Well, let's transition back to Fukuoka and talk about that 50 back world title. Kind of take us through your thoughts and yeah, the prelim semis finals. Let's hear it.
So I'd rather gloss over what I'm about to say, because I don't want the entire podcast to turn into something depressing.
For sure. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm
Absolutely.
gonna say it. We can discuss it a little bit, but then we
Yeah.
got to bring it back.
For sure.
My grandpa has been fighting cancer since 2003. And he'd beaten it so many times, and then he'd get it somewhere else. And eventually, and pretty recently, it spread into his spine. And then he got really sick, and they had to pull him off of chemo to treat this other thing. So during Worlds, he couldn't even open his eyes, and I knew that he didn't have much time left.
Yeah.
Which is also what made this meet really difficult. But the 50 back was his favorite race, and he actually passed the night before the final. So I remember praying in the ready room. I'm like, I want this to be for him. Like, don't do it for me. Just since his eyes, he couldn't open his eyes. That race he got to see my first world title.
Wow.
From heaven, of course.
Yeah.
So outside of it being the first individual world title, that was just a very special race for me, and I'm incredibly blessed to have done that and let him be a part of it.
For sure. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's
Yeah, like looking forward, how do you, I mean, a ton of respect being able to bear down on like so many trials going, there's so many things going out of your way. What do you bear down on to just keep you going?
Um, it you just have to remember that it's bigger than you. Um, trust in God's plan. And I mean, when I'm at Worlds, I'm not fighting for a paycheck or I'm not fighting for accolades. I do this for my country. And because it's something I've always wanted. I never made any junior teams. I tried in 2019. I ended up missing, but like I'll never forget the moment that I got my first USA cap. So every time I go to these meets, it's not I want to win a gold, it's I want to win a gold for the US.
yeah, for sure.
Especially at this meet where we think we only got like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you just have to roll with the punches. I mean, life's going to throw some crazy stuff at you. And, it was a very important lesson to learn on how to swim fast and do your job when nothing goes your way.
For sure.
Yeah, you were
Absolutely.
throwing punches back, so.
I was trying. I was fighting for my life this meet.
Yeah, so just kind of roll us through like prelims, because obviously the finals went amazing, and then just kind of roll us through prelims, your first world trial emotions, and just kind of how it went.
Do you say world trials?
Or sorry, no, I meant worlds.
World title emotion.
World title.
Okay, because I thought you misspoke, but I'll go back if you need.
No, blame my last.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be real. I don't really remember much of prelims or semis.
Yeah.
Especially just being the 50 back. It's such a short race. And there's no strategy involved. There's really just go.
Yeah.
I tell you that the prelims, I didn't really go all out. That's something very few of us have the luxury of doing, but boy, does it help. But no, Justin threw down like 24-1 in the prelims, and that was crazy. Might have only been like 2/100ths slower than what won last year. I don't remember the semis at all. But in the finals, I don't really know what happened throughout the race. I know Zhu Jiayu got off to an incredible start. Never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
But my finish was terrible. And that's happened only a few times. But I'm just going, and I'm like, I should see flags by now. Like, where am I? And I sort of peek up, and I'm already past the flags. And I'm like, oh no. So if you watch that finish, like I kind of like hurt my arm because I took an extra stroke when I shouldn't have. So that hurt.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I could have been faster if I would have gotten that finish, but I'm glad that I was just able to touch the wall first, because I would feel terrible if it was the bad finish that cost me that race.
Right.
But that's just how 50s go. I mean, you splash and dash and try not to hit the lane line.
For sure. Do you the new rule, I think it was this last year. This would be the first World Championships that you can fully submerge on the backstroke finish, right?
Yeah.
Does that have any effect on like what you do, or is it the exact same thing?
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
Murph and I messed with it a little bit. It's slower, like to go back underwater. The only thing that rule did is it allows for you to make a mistake. Justin didn't beat me last year because of that finish. He beat me because he swam better.
Right.
If anything, the finish slowed him down. But just it's slower.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, you're allowed to have long finishes in every race except for backstroke.
For
so
sure.
This just allows you to make that mistake and not get disqualified.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Did you have, we're going to ask, did you have any thoughts on the Russian meet that went on? Or I think it was over in Russia, and the Kolesnikov's 23.5. We're wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
I mean, that's just crazy. No, I met Clement back in Tokyo. He's a good person, and incredibly talented. So I would have loved for him to be at Worlds so we could at least have raced, even if it cost me the title. Like, a world title doesn't mean nearly as much if the best in the world aren't competing for it.
Yeah.
So politics aside, I want the best swimmers to be there, whatever that means. Now, will they? I have no idea. That's above my pay grade. So
right, for sure. Yeah, your job is just to show up and race who's ever there. So that's all you can do.
Yeah, but 23.5, that's crazy fast. And it's all in the start. Like, I watched the race, and maybe it wasn't Russian TV, but that world record line was weird. Like, it was just like moving, and regardless official time, it was incredible to watch. And I got to learn a little bit. Don't know how to implement it, but I learned.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Luke, we just kind of got some rapid fire questions to finish thing up. Unless you got anything else for us, Hunter, that we missed that you wanted to talk about.
Not that I can think of.
All right. And we did make these questions special to this episode because we know we asked you some rapid fire last time. Like, we need new rapid fire questions for Hunter.
All right. So. I'm excited.
All right. So first one, your favorite magician.
Ooh, Adam Wiley. He's an actor. He's been in voice actor, just one of my best friends, and incredibly talented. So
yeah. He's like, is he out in California doing it, or?
He lives in LA, but he works at the Magic Castle. He's done some really cool gigs. Unfortunately, they're NDAs, so I can't tell you who. Except one of them was not an NDA, but it didn't end up working out. Dwayne Johnson. He got to he was hired for Dwayne Johnson.
That's crazy.
That's
awesome.
That's awesome. What's the greatest thing you did over the summer?
Ooh, I think just going to Scotland, and I think it's Arthur's Peak where I took those pictures.
Yeah, those were sick. Did you get that outfit in Scotland, or like did you bring it with you?
We had the kilt. That's actually the Armstrong tartan. So that is like as official as it can get. The pins were Armstrong, the colors, all of it. But I did have to buy the shirt there and the socks. So it's not done. There's a lot more pieces that I'm missing, but it's sort of just like a project.
For sure.
Does that mean do you guys have a family crest then? The Armstrong family
crest?
We do,
and that's actually Invictus Manio is
Oh,
on.
nice.
It's a
No way.
bicep with that. So
That's
You
cool.
should have to get like a cap with the crest on it.
I thought about it, but now I work with Nyack, so I have to wear the Nyack cap. But
Yeah.
if I'm ever not signed to a team, I will definitely design my own.
That would be sweet. That
That'd
would
be
be
awesome.
awesome.
If you had to bet your life savings on someone to win a world title, who are you betting on and why?
Ooh, man, that's tough. Katie Ledecky.
There we go.
That's fair. That's fair.
I was thinking men, and I'm like, if we're talking Caleb in his prime,
Yeah.
Caleb, but safe bet, Katie Ledecky.
There you go. Well, that is all we got for you. That's episode 32. Your 2023 world champion in the 50 backstroke and bronze medalist in the 100 back. And gold on the relay too as well, right?
Oh, that was such a fun relay.
Absolutely. Well, that's
Faster
episode.
than my final 100 back.
Oh, yeah. What did you end up splitting on that one?
I want to say 2-3, 2-4.
Nice. Wow. So that was that prelims of the four medley is that what it was? The prelims 4 medley?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. So yeah, congrats on incredible world championship. And
Thank you.
it's episode 32 in the books.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.